forget, they just, it stays open. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Mr. Pad Paramahansa Sadhudikacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padurikacharya Ashtotar Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Chakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Gopadan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. And Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the Assam of the devotees. All glories to the Assam of the devotees. All glories to the Assam of the devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay. Page 602 at the top. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 6602. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 24th day of June, 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we're in chapter 15 entitled The Yoga of the Supreme Person. Text number 9, top of page 602. Shotram chakshus parshanam cha rasanam ghranam eva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate Shotram chakshus parshanam cha rasanam ghranam eva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate Shotram chakshus parshanam cha rasanam ghranam eva cha adhishtaya manaschayam vishayanupasevate 602. Shotram chakshus parshanam cha rasanam ghranam eva cha adhishtayam anashchayam vishayan upasevate. Word by word. Shrotram, ears. Chakshu, eyes. Sparshanam, touch. Cha, also. Rasanam, tongue. Granam, smelling power. Eva, also. Cha, and adhishtaya, being situated in. Manaha, mind. Cha, also. Ayam, he. Vishayan, sense objects. Upasevate, enjoys. Translation. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of ear, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Purport. In other words, if the living entity adulterates his consciousness with the qualities of cats and dogs, in his next life he gets a cat or dog body and enjoys. Consciousness is originally pure, like water. But if we mix water with a certain color, it changes. Similarly, consciousness is pure, for the spirit soul is pure. But consciousness is changed according to the association of the material qualities. Real consciousness is Krishna consciousness. When therefore one is situated in Krishna consciousness, he is in his pure life. But if his consciousness is adulterated by some type of material mentality, in the next life he gets a corresponding body. He does not necessarily get a human body again. He can get the body of a cat, dog, hog, demigod, or one of many other forms, for there are 8,400,000 species. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chakshu Unmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So this Bhagavad Gita is spoken on the battlefield before the war starts. And every second counts. And so we're getting little summaries of the different points of Upanishadic philosophy. So this chapter started with this wonderful metaphor or analogy of the upside-down banyan tree reflected in the material world being a reflection of the spiritual world, the real world. But we really come to the point of the whole analogy when Krishna describes how we can get out of it, and we meaning the living entity. Because as we go from branch to branch, life to life, we get different bodies, and we're entangled. So by cutting off that tree with the weapon of detachment, right, cutting it at the root, then we have to search out that place from which everything came. Tatat padam. Padam means the spiritual world. Tat parimargatava means searching out. Now, searching out, we have to know where to search. We search in the Bhagavad Gita. We search in the words of the great souls who have seen it, because it's beyond our material vision. So getting that source of knowledge is essential, and we've been given that knowledge. And then, having searched it out and wanting to go there and get free, we have to surrender unto the Supreme Person. And that has been described in text number 5, how to surrender. And then there's a little description of the spiritual world. In text 6, there's no sun, there's need for sun, moon, electricity, fire. Yad gadvana navartante. This phrase appears more or less in this form or other forms, but it means once going, you don't come back. There's that statement in 3 or 4 places. Whereas every other abode you may go to, in Brahmaloka down to Patala-loka, you keep coming back. Place of return. And then he switches gears and he starts describing the nature of the spirit soul. So the whole thing is talking about our destiny and how we can change it. We can go back to Godhead. Now he describes the what's happening to millions and millions of souls, human included, who don't go back to Godhead. And he's describing how, first of all, we are little anksha. This word anksha is very important. There's different kinds of anksha. Binangsha. Binangsha means separated parts and parcels. Prabhupada would use that phrase. Although in the dictionary you'll find part and parcel as basically an adjective. You don't find, it's either a part, or which is part and parcel of something else. But anyway, it's part of Prabhupada's freedom to adjust the language. What's understood is that the anksha is a part that has the quality of the whole. like the sun ray in the sun, or the drop of water in the ocean, like that. So we're Angsha of Krishna. Mama Evangsha, my part and parcels. And that's our role eternally. We never merge and become Supreme Brahman. And we're in this material world, and we're struggling with the senses, which include the mind. And the mind, this word karshati is, and we keep getting pulled from one body to another according to the mentality that we've created. And that's the whole science of transmigration. And another analogy, just like we develop a certain consciousness, it can be, very pure, or it can be very contaminated, just like a wind, takes the fragrance. So the soul is the breeze, and the mind is the fragrance, And if the mind has been polluted very much, then that will take us to an unpleasant body. So then we come to the present verse. But the whole idea is that, okay, you're making your own destiny here. Then you get, assuming you're in a form, not like a tree, some kind of organism, like a cat, dog, or even a fish, and you get a certain eye, a certain ear, all the five senses. But if you've been very sinful and cultivated the lower modes, you'll be in an animal body or something like that. But you'll have some kind of series of senses like this. Now, this word upasevate, I like to call attention to it. This Prabhupada says enjoys, which is one of the meanings. But there's another meaning. I looked it up in this dictionary in my work as an editor, in the Sanskrit dictionary. Upasevate also means to become addicted to. Become addicted to. So Prabhupada would give this analogy all the time. If you get the hog's body, you're thinking like a hog, and you have a certain sense of sense objects that you're attracted to, which are abominable in your human form. You like to eat stool, you wouldn't go near it in a human form. So you become accustomed to engaging the senses with a certain set of sense objects. And that, completely fills up your consciousness. That's who you are, that's who you think you are. Very rudimentary, is much more covered than human form. But that's what's been going on. That's our process of transmigration. So the whole point here. Now here it says this is very nice. Consciousness is pure like water. So in our original state, we are purely Krishna conscious, and that's the whole essence of the spiritual world. It's completely pure. There's no tinge of matter, of modes of nature, of envy. All of these things are absent. As Prabhupada would say, one of his favorite phrases, conspicuous by its absence. As soon as there's a tinge of envy or desire in our hearts, then we come to this world. You remember that key verse at the end of 7:27 or 20. Itcha dvesha samutena. We went over this one. We because we're marginal, means that we have a tendency to be controlled or influenced by the external energy or the internal energy. So that's our basic free will. And when we just turn a little bit toward the material energy, she's right there ready to grab us. There's one verse Prabhupada would always quote, Krishna Buli Sejiv, Bhoga Vanchakari, Nikatasthamaya Dhare Tapa Japatiya Dhari. It's actually from a book called the Prema Vivarta. This is by Jagadananda Pandit. Not as famous, but this verse is famous. Prabhupada's made it famous. So, as soon as we forget Krishna, Bhoga Vanchakari, because we want to enjoy Bhoga, we want to enjoy separately from Krishna. Krishna Buddhiseji, Bhoga Vanchakari. Nikatastha, Maya, who's not, you don't have to call her from a far distance, she's right next to you. She's ready. She's an expansion of the Yoga Maya potency. So just as in the spiritual world, Yoga Maya is everywhere. So she's also there when we go to the material world, she's immediately there. Japati, that she tackles you. In other words, she pulls you down, and she has these two coverings, Prakshetabhika and Avaranatmaka. One is covering your knowledge, and the other is throwing you down into the clutches of the material energy. And you forget all about Krishna, you forget all about your life in the spiritual world. But you still have those tendencies to want to enjoy Ananda. But all you've got for a field of doing it is this material energy. And so what looks like Ananda, you may not know this, but chocolate has a chemical. You've heard of it? Anandamide. Oh, really? Yes, I swear to God. Look it up. This is why it's so addictive. There's a letter about chocolate. This is why we don't eat chocolate. It's a kind of a drug. But you know, but we're looking for ananda in the material world, and we're getting disappointed life after life after life. There'll be a question about that, I'm sure. So here we are, you know, in our next body with our ears and eyes and tongue, and we're looking for ananda in this material world, and we become addicted to it, you know, and then we die and we go on, you know. So now he goes on with the description. So let's proceed if there's no questions. Utkramantang stitam vapi bunjanam bhagunanvitam vamudha nanupashyanti pashyanti jnanachakshushaha. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. We're back again to developing the vision from the 13th chapter. Purport. The word jnana chakshusha is very significant. Without knowledge, one cannot understand how a living entity leaves his present body, nor what form of body he is going to take in the next life, nor even why he is living in a particular type of body. This requires a great amount of knowledge understood from the Bhagavad Gita and similar literatures heard from a bona fide spiritual master. One who is trained to perceive all these things is fortunate. Every living entity is quitting his body under certain circumstances. He is living under certain circumstances, and he is enjoying under certain circumstances under the spell of material nature. As a result, he is suffering different kinds of happiness and distress under the illusion of sense enjoyment. Persons, I think we may have changed that to experiencing. Anyway, persons who are everlastingly fooled by lust and desire lose all power to understand their change of body and their stay in a particular body. They cannot comprehend it. Those who have developed spiritual knowledge, however, can see that the spirit is different from the body and is changing its body and enjoying in different ways. A person in such knowledge can understand how the conditioned living entity is suffering in this material existence. Therefore, those who are highly developed in Krishna consciousness try their best to give this knowledge to the people in general, for their conditional life is very much troublesome. They should come out of it and be Krishna conscious and liberate themselves to transfer to the spiritual world. So we keep coming back to this theme kind of in the Bhagavad Gita and also in the Bhagavatam, and that is developing a different way of seeing. Because, you know, how you see, you don't just see with the eyes, you see with your consciousness. You know, this is very obvious, you know, as you grow up, you get a different kind of vision. Oh, you know, the child, what does the child see? He comes into this room, you know, little 3-year-old, you know, colors, you know, the sound. Now, it's very nice to get, you know, wrapped up in the kirtan. There's this one, Jessica's son, Berlioz, you know, the musician. He's an exceptional kid. You can see his Krishna consciousness busting to come out of there, you know. It's wonderful to see. So that, you know, children, are, of course, human children are, you know, so valuable and impressionable. But, you know, the adults also, you have a certain way of seeing, and you trust that. You know, just like now, you know, they have there's so much fake news, you know. In other words, there's a lot of lies flowing around. This whole material world is a lie. It's a big con by Maya, you know, drawing you in and try to enjoy this, and then boom, you know, you suffer, you die, and, you know, down you go. And so we need to have that source of knowledge where we can really see things as they are. That's what as it is, Bhagavad Gita. Because even Bhagavad Gita, you know, I remember back in 81, I think it was 1981, and maybe some of 82. Jayawada Maharaj was living in Philadelphia. I was there. He was working on the Bhagavad Gita, the second edition, which we're reading. And as part of his work, he got some other Gitas, you know, that were produced in college and things like that to just help, you know, figure things out. And so I looked in one of them, and it was a college text or something produced by Prabhupada. And it was basically like one translation per page, you know, and I'm not sure what the whole idea. But you can see even the translation showed you there was no real understanding of the import of the verses. The translation may have been basically correct, but it wasn't written with the idea of first of all, from an enlightened soul, and in order to give this knowledge to others. That comes out in every page. Prabhupada is, there's so many shoulds. There's a normative. Normative means how to act. In other words, moral instruction. That's only there in human life. There's no shoulds amongst the lions and the tigers and the cats and the dogs. It's just instinct. They're not committing any sin. They go the lion will eat the deer. They're not committing a sin. It's just his nature. Coming up through the different species. But when you get to the human form of life with the higher intelligence, you're responsible for your acts because you have that gift, and you can change your way of life according to knowledge. And without that dharma that dharma means a discipline, not just on what you feel, but what you should do for your ultimate benefit and the benefit of others. It's just polished animal life. We call it human life, but it's just polished eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So a lot of it depends on this idea of seeing yourself, seeing others, how you see the world, and we've been discussing, I think, in the Bhagavatam class, or maybe it's a class I gave on Sunday, but how you can see God in everything. You see, this is a basic theme, because it's Krishna's energy. He's there as the super soul, and there's a meaning to it. Life isn't just this meaningless walk through, so many years and enjoy here, suffer there. And as soon as you hear enjoying, Prabhupada used the word, the other side is suffering. If you're going to try to enjoy in this world, you're going to suffer. Prabhupada says it directly in the 5th chapter. And it's like you can see the trick of Maya in the fact that the pleasure is very flickering. As Prahlad Maharaj says, what does he say? Kutrashisha shuti sukha mrigatishni rupa. It's such a wonderful set of prayers he's got. Kutrashisha. What's the use of all this aspiration to enjoy in this world, he's saying? Shuti sukha. Most of it is there, hearing about it, anticipating it. There's so much of that, enjoyment, but it has the nature of a mirage. Mrigatishni rupa. Mrigatishni is what the deer thirsts for. In the desert, Mrigatishni Rupa. It means that it's here and then it's gone. And all you're left is the hankering, the shochati, kanchati. You're lamenting because it's gone and you're hankering for more of it and it's not there yet. So then he says, Kredam kalevadam asheshudajam viroha. And this body, is it really a really good vessel for enjoyment? It's full of so many diseases, frailties, So much of it is that, I used to enjoy this, now I can't enjoy it anymore. Either I can't afford it, or I don't have the senses for it, or whatever, It's not there anymore. So there's lamentation. So then he says something very interesting, though. And then he says, Nirvidyate natujano tadapiti vidban. Even a person who understands this, and it doesn't really take much to understand it, this is just life's lessons, how ephemeral everything is, cannot cease from it. Nirvidyate. They can't cease from looking for sense gratification. Because kamanalam, kamanalam, the fire of lust, not just sex, but all kinds of desires, burns so brightly. Modulavaya shamayang durapai. So difficult to get, the little drops of honey-like sense gratification to try to extinguish this blazing fire of lust. You can never really do it, but the effort to do that itself covers your knowledge. You can see it in people. I told you there's a lady in my apartment complex who smokes. There's a young lady, foreign born. Yeah, she has an accent of some kind, I recognize. And she comes outside. And the only reason I met her is because she's always coming outside. Whoever she's living with, the guy she's living with, and doesn't want to smoke in there because he's not a smoker. So yeah, come out and smoke. And what kind of mentality is that? I mean, I know because I smoked when I was a kid. But that was I started before they even had the messages on the package. That's how old I am. This is like 61 or something, Was it that early? 62. And they didn't even have those messages. Warning, cigarette smoking is hazardous to your health. That didn't work so well, so they started doing more. It can damage your baby. It can ruin your heart and your lungs. No matter what they put on there, people who smoked. Perfect example. The lust, the addiction, literally, covers the knowledge, right? And you become, victimized. So that's what's going on a grand scale for life after life. The desire to enjoy covers all this knowledge we just read, which we once had. That I'm part and parcel of Krishna, my home is in the spiritual world, where there's eternal life. No, I don't know anything. All I'm focused on this world, which is temporary. It's a reflection. So we're mistaking it for our home and our place of enjoyment. And even if we may know that it's bad for us, still, somehow, knowledge gets covered and we still act against our best interests. So Krishna consciousness, this knowledge, is meant to open our eyes. Vimudha nanopashyandi. Those who are fooled, they cannot see. But those who have the eyes of knowledge can see. So that's the whole difference. Krishna is trying to give us this eyes of knowledge. Is there someone at the door? It's possible. There's only one entrance you can get in. Okay. Not interested. Okay. So, Utkramantam Sthittam Bhava. They cannot see or understand how one quits his body. And we can easily relate to that. There's no way of understanding it unless you get the knowledge from a higher source. Because we can't remember. Can anyone here remember life in the womb or past life? No. So, but from this knowledge, when we accept it, then it makes sense. And the more we practice Krishna consciousness and draw our senses away from this, not just the sense gratification, but the hope for sense gratification, the dreaming about it, hoping for it, regretting that we don't have it, all of this is part of the illusion. The more that we can attain a steady mind, as described in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, 2nd chapter. There's a series of verses that are pertinent to this. Krishna's describing the nature of the person with a steady mind. Arjuna was, well, who is that person who's in this Brahma Nirvana, or rather Buddhi Yoga? And so Krishna starts describing. It's really an advanced description. He says, what is it? How does it start? Oh yeah, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partamanogantan atmaneva manatushta chitta pragyasta doshade. This theme, stita pragya, whose consciousness or intelligence is fixed. So Prajahati yada kaman, throwing it far away. In other words, being determined to throw away all of these material desires that are covering our knowledge. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partamanogatan. All of them, manogatan, that arise out of the mind. The mind is always churning up, ideas for enjoyment. Prajahati sarvan partamanogatan atmaneva panatushta, and satisfied with the self. Of course, satisfied with Krishna consciousness is Chitta Pragya. So he goes on like that. Dukeshvano vignamana sukeshu vigataspaha. Vita raga bhaya krodha stita dhyamanaruchite. That's the next one. When things that would normally cause you to be unhappy or suffer, they don't disturb your mind. The mind is fixed on Krishna. Dukeshvano vignamana sukeshu vigataspaha. And things that would entice you to try to enjoy the senses, sukeshu vigataspaha. You give up the desire for them. You're satisfied in yourself. Vita raga bhaya krodha, that line is in there, giving up attachment, fear, and anger. So it goes on like that. But at a certain point, he says, that this vishya, the vishya comes up here in the previous verse, right? Vishyanupasevate, you become addicted with your... So here he's saying, this 259, it's a famous verse, that one through force of will can give up the vishyas for some time. But as we all know, the desire remains, and eventually, vishya vinivartanina nirahara siddhina rasavarjam, the rasa remains. Rasopyasa, but even the rasa, the taste remains. When? Padam dristvana vartate. When you see, we get back to seeing, you get a direct experience of Krishna. And devotees can realize this, that the more you practice Krishna kindness seriously, the less of these material desires are drawing on your mind, because you're becoming purified. So then he goes on like that, And he says, but the way it really works is that tani sarvani sangha yukta asita matparaha. All these senses of yours have to be linked up to me. And that way you can become pacified. That's really getting the higher taste. Padam drishtana vartate. And then he says, well, here's how you lose the higher taste. And then he starts his 2 verses that are so famous. Dhyayato vishya, back to the Vishayas. Dhyayato vishyan pungsa sangasteshu bhajayate. By contemplating the objects of the senses, one develops an attachment to them. And from sangat sanjayate kama, the more you consider that attachment, you develop a strong desire, kama. And when that kama, that intense desire to enjoy, almost passion, is frustrated, you become angry. When you can't express it outside, you turn it inside, you become depressed, and you go into drugs or whatever. Kama krodo bijayate krodad bhavati sammoha. And this anger produces complete bewilderment. Sammoha. Sammohat smriti vibhrama. And you forget everything. Your memory gets shot. You forget who you are, you forget it, what you're supposed to do. Smriti bhangshat buddhi nasha. When your memory goes, your intelligence gets destroyed, and then you're finished. So what's the solution to this? And here's the reason I brought this up. Raga dvesha vimukta is 2 vishayan. Here's the vishayas again. Raga dvesha vimukta is 2 vishayan indriyaischcharan atmavashe vidhe atma prasadam adhigacchati. Here's how to get the prasadam. And it's not the Sunday feast. It's the grace of the Lord. So here's the key phrase there in that verse is vidhe atma. Vidhis are the rules and regulations. The regulative principles of freedom. Do you remember that phrase? That's an important phrase in the second. In other words, if one accepts the regulative principles of freedom, now it's interesting because regulative principles means that you're kind of giving up some of your freedom. But you're doing it voluntarily to attain a higher freedom, to become free from the control of this material energy, which was just described in the 2 verses. Without this knowledge, we're helpless. In all directions, bombarded. And nowadays it's not just the regular life, but through the media and everything. The inducements, enticements to enjoy, to try to go here, do there, and it can be all on the mental platform. You get into some part of the internet, and before you know, you got a conspiracy theory. And now I really understand what's going on. And you see everything through that lens. It's all the question of how you see. So he's saying, we're practicing these regular principles of freedom. I'm restraining my senses and my mind and directing them a certain way to break free of the bonds of the material energy. We're going to be controlled. Are we going to be controlled by Krishna, who loves us, or by the agents of the material energy, the asuras who are trying to exploit us? That's our freedom. So he goes on. So raga dvesha. Then, when even the senses moving amongst the sense objects, you can be free of raga, attraction, and repulsion. There's always that flip side also. Raga and dvesha vimuktais, free of it. Vishayan indriyais charan. Even when the senses, indriyas, are moving charan amongst the vishayas. Perfect place for a brahmacharya ashram, right on a beach. Right? Southern California beach. Summer is coming, But somehow the ashram is still going on. Because Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. If you're thinking of Krishna, you're chanting Krishna's name, some half-dressed girl is working by Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. But without that Hare Krishna, you'd be helpless. Young men, you'd be helpless. Even old codgers like me, But with Hare Krishna, who cares? It's right. It's just, there's ways of thinking, blood and pus and bones, The Buddhists have a thing where you're supposed to see, again, seeing, as if, this, right? As if the skin were transparent. What do you see? And we got plenty of verses if you want a verse. Deheshti mangsurudi de bimatam chajasva. Jahirasut adijasatama vamuncha. Pushyani samjadaditam janabhangatishtam. Vairagya raga rasiko bhava bhakti vishnu. This last line is great. Vairagya raga. Get attachment for detachment. Bhagavad Dasa Goswami. Very nice. Vairagya. So, don't love the body, just a bag of flesh and blood and bone. Give up your sense of ownership for wife and kids and home. That's the actual verse. At every moment, see that your world totters on destruction. Become detached and learn to love the Lord without obstruction. I couldn't put the actual thing. Become attached to detachment and learn to love the Lord. So why become attached to detachment? Because it opens up this whole world of experience of the soul and the spiritual senses. The actual ananda becomes available. Like the kirtan. When, if someone's looking at it and analyzing it from a material point of view, what's going on here? These guys are just chanting the same sound again and again and again. They're dancing up. They must be brainwashed. Let's go to the bar. Let's go to the bar, get some reality, right? And we've had people living in this ashram who left the ashram and went to the bar. Believe me. I'm not going to name any names. The point is, that's metaphorical. But if you don't do it right, you offend devotees, you lose your taste, and this whole thing is crazy. In other words, you lose your ability to see that this is reality, and that's illusion. And it seems just the opposite. This is illusion. That's where reality is, So we have to be careful. But the opportunity is there, and Bhagavad Gita is so important because you can see. It really opens the eyes. You can see with the eyes of knowledge. Prabhupada is giving us Jnana Chakshush. So I'll stop ranting and raving. Any discussion?
This is actually about the last the last verse. You mentioned, or you made some point about upasevate, meaning in here it's glossed as enjoys. You said also addicted.
You become addicted.
Becomes addicted to.
Yeah.
I'm wondering. I just remember in a talk by a non-Vaishnava that I heard a while back. He's dead, but he mentioned how he was making the point that people will criticize religious people for some particular reason, and he was saying that the word addict, I think how he was connecting, he was saying the word addict is related to the word, actually somehow the etymology is related to the word worship, that there's no he was saying there's no possibility of not worshiping something. So he's saying actually the etymology of the word addict comes from the word worship. It's you're worshiping something. You're worshiping something else other than God.
Well, that's interesting.
But
I'm
wondering here. But you're saying upaseva taken for to become addicted to, but then seva is in there. I'm wondering, is seva at all?
Yeah, totally. In other words, when you're serving these things that you indulge in. I mean, God. I mean, when I was smoking cigarettes, they were 50 cents a pack. Marlboro. All the kids who smoked the Marlboro man, All right, it was a burden, but 50 cents you could come up with, $7, $8 a pack, So that's kind of tribute. You're paying, and you have to stop and go, and it is a kind of worship. This is why what is usually worship. We're in this crazy political season. Of course, in America, it lasts like all the time when we're not in an election period. But that can easily be seen. People come and they glorify and they listen to the person. They place their hopes in him or her. That they'll solve the problems. I mean, this is a kind of worship. Clearly. So, what are the essence of it? Is that you're first of all you're focusing on something as something that you should give service to. It could be money, it could be attention, or some other kind of, and so that they'll provide some solution to a problem you have, And so that kind of adulation, that strong desire, it's really built on strong desire and hope, confidence, faith, that this person, thing, experience will fulfill a need that I have, and when it's repeated, and there's a whole philosophy can roll around, can be built around it, then it becomes clearly worship. I mean, I remember I keep bringing this up, but some of you have heard before. When I was in Miami, Miami is kind of a crossroads for a lot of traffic coming down from South America. They usually come into Miami land there, and then they go elsewhere. They stay. So, I had never lived in such a place, but there it was. I was living there for 6 years. And we had a whole contingent there from Brazil. because really Nanda Maharaj, he had a huge yatra there that he built up. It's amazing. He learned brilliant. He learned to speak Spanish in a few days. He learned Portuguese, learned Sanskrit in a year. Tremendous brain. But he was able to literally build up that yatra until it was, at one point, the biggest book distribution center in the world. So, we would constantly get devotees coming up from there and everything. And we learned about some of the culture. And they have a whole thing with mode of ignorance worshipping, which you read about in the Bhagavatam, where people are, going out into the forest and they're smoking cigars, the main worshiper, and they're offering meat and, all kinds of things, and chanting some kind of incantations. And, there's Krishna talks about that, 7th chapter. He says, Kamais taiste riddhyana papadyante anya devata. Those whose, first of all, it says, Bohonam jamanam ente jnanaman papadyante. After many births of cultivating knowledge, those are actually in knowledge and know what's what. They surrender to me, knowing that Vasudeva is everything, that I'm God. But others, Kamais taiste riddhyana, whose knowledge is stolen away by material desires, they worship other gods. Now he's talking about the traditional gods and goddesses, of which there are many, in the Vedic culture. But the point is they do it for some material reason, controlled by their own nature. So now in whatever mode they're in, now we're back to the modes of nature, which we studied in the previous chapter. That'll determine what kind of person and what kind of object thing you worship. There's a whole complex and there's different traditions. So then what happens? Yo-yo yam-yam, yo-yo yam-yam tanum bhakta, shadayarjita michati. That yo-yo yam is like one of these idioms. It means whatever you want to worship. Tanum bhakta. Now here's the word bhakta. You become like a bhakta, Shadayarjita michati. You want to worship, and with faith. You need faith to worship anything. This particular species of tree, we've been doing it for hundreds of years. We go out into the forest, find that tree, Oh, okay, it's tradition. Yeah, go ahead. You have faith. If you want to worship with, I give you the faith. I make your faith steady. With that faith, you worship whatever you worship, and whatever you get, you seem to get from there, it's coming from me. In other words, you get you get your desired result, or you don't get it. Oh, we made a mistake. It was the wrong day. In other words, your faith is continued. And then, but if you happen to get something that you believe it's coming from me anyway, it's coming from me. You don't recognize me. So then he ends up with this, conclusion. These are those who worship something other than Krishna. That's the whole point. He says, oh God. That's the Tame Vadatam. Satya Shadya Tatsayadan Miye Labadech the Kaman Maya Vedan. Oh God. Balaram. You know that one? Where it says that those who worship in this way are fools. Oh boy, this is the lessons here. Always review your verses. Okay, text 23. Antavat tu palam tesham 723. Antavatu palam tesham tadbhavalt olpamedasam devan devya juyanti madbhakta yanti mamipi. Men of small intelligence, human beings of small intelligence, worship the demigods, or anything, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme abode, my supreme planet. So this is a really important verse, because when you expand the form of worship, the idea of worship to anything you become addicted to, and you place your faith in, and you try to get, just like now, so many people, misguided people, they have their faith in these politicians, even the main politician, our dear leader. Hey, how misguided is that? Talk about having your knowledge covered by. So that's why he says, Opamedasam, not very intelligent. They worship something other than me. Whatever, he says, Devan Devi Joyanti. Well, you worship the Devi, you go to the Devas. Worship the tree, you go to the tree. Who knows what you're going to get. But you've placed your faith and your attention, your consciousness, you've filled your mind with thoughts and hopes in relation to something, someone, some organization, some party, some drug, some whatever it may be. You're not going back to Godhead. That's all mostly motive ignorance stuff. You probably lose the human form of life. So this is the choice. Worship Deva and David. You fill in the blank here. Whatever you worship, that's where you're going. But my devotees come to me. So we should have to decide. Where do we want to go? Do we want to go to some tree in Brazil, or do we want to go back to Godhead? We're in the tree now. We're in the banyan tree now. Harekrishna. Any other discussion? All right, let's go on. Jnana Chakshushi. All right, this yatanto, striving. Yogis strive. Text 11. Did I read 10? I think I read 10. Okay. Yatanto yoginas chayanam pashyantyatman hyavastitam yatanto prakutatmano nainam pashyantya chetasaha. Who sees and who doesn't see? The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. So he's talking about this whole process of transmigration that he just described. Purport: there are many transcendentalists on the path of spiritual self-realization. But one who is not situated in self-realization cannot see how things are changing in the body of the living entity. The word yogina is significant in this connection. In the present day, there are many so-called yogis, and there are many so-called associations of yogis, but they are actually blind in the matter of self-realization. They are simply addicted, here we go, they're simply addicted to some sort of gymnastic exercise and are satisfied if the body is well built and healthy. They have no other information. They are called yatanto vyakritatmanaha. Even though they are endeavoring in a so-called yoga system, they are not self-realized. Such people cannot understand the process of the transmigration of the soul. Only those who are actually in the yoga system and have realized the self, the world, and the Supreme Lord, in other words, the bhakti yogis, those engaged in pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness, can understand how things are taking place. So the implication is that when we understand this knowledge and we have faith in it, then we have to act according to it. If you don't act according to it, then you lose the understanding. It just becomes theoretical. It's just words in a book. The whole idea is to make this our lived experience. And that's the value of a total environment like the ashram. Because we're so habituated to thinking otherwise that a little bad association can change our whole attitude. And again, this looks like theoretical stuff, and the reality is out there. But it's not. It's like a dream. What is that verse? I mentioned this before. The one that's in the Bhagavatam 5 times. It's always good to revert to that verse again, since it's obviously very important. Arte hi vidyamane pi sangsate nanavartate dhyayato vishayan asya swapne nartagamo yata. There's a lot of verses in the 11th canto that describe this material life as a dream-like experience. So in truth, arte avidyamane pi, that the samsriti, the birth and death and all the suffering, is ultimately unreal because it's temporary. It's like a dream. But just like a dream, if your consciousness, your intelligence, is absorbed in, again, vishayan, dhyayado vishayan, the objects of the senses, enjoying them like that, then the miseries attendant with samsara, birth, old age, disease, and death, and threefold miseries, don't cease, just like the sufferings in a nightmare don't cease until what happens? You wake up. You wake up. So this whole process is one of waking up. Uttishta, jagrata, prabhavadan nibodhata. This is from the Upanishads. Get up, wake up. Understand the great treasure you have as the human form of life. This is our chance. Every day, every moment is precious. To cultivate this knowledge and this ability to see things as they are, and to act on them. And the more we act on the basis of the knowledge, the more our vision will expand. And that's, enlightenment. The light comes on inside. And with that comes the real Ananda. Forget the Ananda mind. Forget the real. Did you know about that, Bhagavad? One of the things that makes chocolate so attractive is the chemical called anandamide. Look it up. Google it. You'll see. This is what I was looking, trying to confirm or deny the Prabhupada's injunctions, whether we could take chocolate or not. And so there's plenty of, there's letters, and there's a pastime with Harisari in Mayapur when they just opened and they were selling hot chocolate, Harisari says, you can't do that. So why not? Prabhupada said, well, let's go ask him. So they asked Prabhupada. He said, no chocolate, So then but on the other side, said, we gave Prabhupada chocolate, and when he came to Switzerland, he liked it, like that. So. But I always go by the words he spoke. There's a letter, Now he doesn't mention anandamide, but I looked it up. I Googled, what is it about chocolate? And sure enough, there's a kind of drug in there. It's not a heavy-duty drug, but it's a drug that, it's enough of an intoxicant. Just like tea, we don't drink tea, So, but I say, here it is, anandamide. So people, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I was totally into chocolate. Little chocolate kisses. They had these little things. I don't have to have them anymore. And I'm telling you, there's places in ISKCON where chocolate is happening, But we've kept our loyalty to carob. Actually, when I first moved here, you wouldn't believe this. Another amazing story. I lived on Reed Avenue, which is down near the bay, And it was about a mile from the temple. It was with the BTG. Maharaj was living there with them. And then, there's all these trees lining it. And then a certain part of the season, these pods would come down. They're carob trees. Carob trees, right there on Reed Avenue. Check it out. I'm not sure if they're still. I assume that they're still there. We never harvested them and ground them up or anything, but I was told, that's carob. So. Okay, we have time for a little poem. I think I gave you this one last time. Matodesha Madhuri, the M verse, oh Master. So here's another little one that's really nice to learn. These are all part of the curriculum. We're going to learn these. Now you have to know a word. The word limb. Everyone knows the word limb. You know the word limb. You don't even know the word limb. Limb, like arms and legs, But there's another limb, L-I-M-N, which means to describe. It comes from illuminate, L-I-M-N. Ursipadispuradindidamindindidamandida svajolasitam hadamanganata mangala mangala tachandanam bande. Rupa Goswami. Upon his chest is manifest the mark of Goddess Shri, and there to rest the best of wreaths, a temple for the bees, who worship him by singing hymns that limn his loving play, while Shri Hari most gleefully acclaims the way they pray. For Braja's love-mad milkmaids, and for all the Brahmins' wives, Shri Krishna is the ultimate good fortune in their lives. His sandal-paste anointed limbs bedim the full moon's glow. Unto the lotus feet of Shri Hari I bow down low. I would always do this with Suki. Suki Bhakta knew this one. You remember Suki? We would do that. Okay. So we have time for one more. This is just the refrain of a song by Rupa Goswami. Krishna Bhavandam Bande, or Deva, sometimes Deva Bhavandam Bande. So the Sanskrit is Krishna Bhavandam Bande Manmanasambandha Kadama Payanita Padapankachamakadandehi. O Krishna, dearest Lord, I bow to you and then entreat, please place to be my restless mind in the honey of your lotus feet. Okay, we'll learn the rest of the song later. All glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Om.